Ohayou gozaimasu. Watashi wa Yuriko desu. I've been working on a small game in the magical girl subgenre of anime stuff, which apparently is quite a popular genre. So in order to make this stuff, I had to research how to do it. And now that I've researched how to do it, you don't have to. Just sit back and watch. So at its core, Magical Girl is just jazz. So for instrumentation, in the harmony side of things, we're basically just going to be using a stage band brass arrangement. So that's things like saxophone, trumpet, trombone. I know saxophones are not part of the brass and they're part of the woodwinds, but for stage band, it's still whatever. And all these guys are just going to be playing in the same rhythmic unison, but different notes spanning across the chords. To differentiate it from just being jazz, stage band, and making it sound more like anime, we're going to add, in typical anime fashion, guitars and piano to try and accent the rhythm too. For the rhythm section, yeah, it's basically just the same as stage band jazz arrangement. We've got the main core of it is going to come from an actual drum kit, and then we're going to throw in some other things to kind of spice it up a little bit. Some handheld percussion like tambourines, wood blocks, castanets, shakers, and whatever else. And then finally, instrumentation for the melody. So for the actual main theme, it's really important that we include strings. Every big one, Cardcaptor Sakura, Doki Doki, Sailor Moon, they all have strings to kind of highlight the main melody. But after that, you're kind of free to do whatever you want for the rest of the soundtrack. I kind of stuck to mainly woodwinds, that being flute, alto sax, and tenor sax. And then every so often, I'd also add in some piano to do the melody or strings again. So that's it for the instrumentation. Now we're going to move on to the harmony. For the harmony, the overall feel needs to be positive. So the main theme should probably be major, just to really convey the, I guess, happiness, the overall positivity of the score. But it doesn't need to be, and the rest of the score needn't be. But it should feel happy. So this track that you heard a little bit of before is minor, but it comes across as quite happy because I don't stress the sad parts of the minor scale. So aside from that, we need to keep it jazzy. So we're using lots and lots of chord extensions, sevenths and ninths and other notes that aren't part of the triad, and big use of leading chords, or whatever they're called, the ones that are used to get from one spot to another spot. Like, I guess a passing chord kinda, but the whole point is to be tension driving to the next chord. We're talking secondary dominance, tritone substitution, Neapolitan chords, passing diminished chords, negative harmony dominance, anything you can to make a nice resolution. Really simply, for the melody, you're going to stick to major or minor, whatever the key is in. If it's minor, avoid using the raised seventh, because that gives that very strong minor feel. And then whenever you want, you're going to throw in the blues scale to try and make it sound a bit more jazzy. Okay, so this level is a bit darker, so I am actually using that raised seventh, and you'll hear it comes across as a little bit darker. But because I don't really stress it too much, except for these kind of like tension building notes, it doesn't give across that sad feel. Anyway, so this is kind of going from moving around the minor scale here, and then here, of course, but in some of these other sections, here as well, and then we're kind of really digging into that pentatonic. So on the topic of melody, as you just heard, it's really, really, really important that we use dynamics and expressive techniques. So you're meant to be imitating jazz players, and jazz players do not do legato the entire time. They make use of every single sound that they can get out of their instrument. I think this flute kind of displays it pretty well. And if we were to just take that all off, you can hear just how much we lose here. It is insanely boring. You can listen to you can go back and listen if you want to hear the comparison again. But it really adds so much to just add a few key switches in. So obviously this also makes it sound more like a real instrument playing and not like a computer trying to recreate a sound like a VST. But that's not the reason why we're doing it. We're doing it because of how flat it sounds when we aren't using those key switches versus how exciting and enjoyable it sounds when we actually are using them. But I mean, yeah, it goes twofold. We still want both those reasons. So from the little I could tell with structure, there's not a very clear set structure like in some genres. They only really had two parts, which was melody or soloing, as far as I could tell. So that's kind of all I did. We would go from melody into a soloing section, melody into a soloing section. So these are the chords. Starting off B flat major, then we go into the D minor 7 over 11. Resolves into a G minor 7, which resolves into a C minor 7 9, and then it's over the 5th, but whatever. And then we're going to the F, and that's basically to use, because we've got this like half bar to go back to the G. You can see here, it's pretty simple. It's just 5-1, bunch of secondary dominants. All right, and just finally some parting words on how I composed this. So, Magical Girl scores, from what I could tell, were very, very melody driven. So, to do this, yes, sometimes I'd make chords in advance, but for the most part, it was make the melody, or make the drums to go, just so I can kind of, melody, and then probably percussion, and then chords, and then from the chords I would build up the rest. So I don't know where I should have put this, if it was instrumentation or melody or whatever, but one of the ways that I made it sound a bit more happy and bright is by like metallic accenting. Cymbals, mark tree, glockenspiel, doing a little, accenting some notes here and there. So Celeste, here we have the main melody. And the glockenspiel's also coming in just for this part. Just so you can kind of mix it. And then here too. Because this kind of sounds a bit minor, honestly. But then we bring in the metal. And by bringing in this metal, it just kind of brightens things up a little bit. Even if it's still playing minor, metal sounds very happy, We've got this little accent here. just a way, instead of using a cymbal roll, because, I did use a lot of cymbal rolls, but instead of doing that, it's just another way to really lighten the mood. Remind you, we're going to a new section, it's a happy new section. And it can just add that little bit extra to convince you otherwise, I guess. If you are still struggling with making things happier, you can always speed it up 5 to 10 BPMs. You don't want to speed it up too much. Obviously, even if it's a slow, sad song, just speeding it up by 5 BPMs can give it a bit of life and warmth that kind of makes it a bit more happy. And you'll notice, honestly, if you listen to some of these soundtracks, even the sad, slow songs are a bit faster than most sad, slow songs would be. And I think the reason is, as I said, to make it a bit more happy. Anyway, those are the main points to keep in mind. You're obviously allowed to do whatever you want, but I suggest using those as a core and then going off to do whatever you want after that. Listen to my soundtrack. It's going to be out on whatever date I put here. And yeah, ciao, ciao.